Peace, HHDG. We're on another episode of HHDG Media, the podcast. And big shout out to everyone tuning in on our YouTube channel, as well as our Facebook group, HHDG, Hip Hop Discussion Group. As you can see on the bottom banner, you can go check out our website. That's hhdgmedia.com. Latest music, merch, upcoming events, and as well as our own mixtapes, courtesy of Rock Vader KB, who is also one of the founding members of our company, HHDG Media Inc., as well as T. Smith, the Mayor, Skellytop, and myself, Wiki. For tonight, we have a multi-talented, across many boards, individual, currently residing in Virginia, but originally from PG County, old DMV, still repping. A wealth of knowledge and musical experience through his MCing, production, arrangements, engineering. Um, he's worked with countless artists, and especially one of my favorites, the collective of QN5. Done so much work with them, Pac FM, Tone Deaf, there's many more. Um, with his catalog, he's worked with people not just known in the U.S. but internationally known, and we'll get into that during our interview, as well as him writing a children's book and being part of a song from a very famous anime, and so much more that he's into that continues to push the culture and show his multi-talented skills. Without further ado, I'd like to proudly introduce Substantial. Peace, peace.
All right. Peace, family. Peace. What's going on?
How you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, for before we dive in, I didn't mention the intro, but you have an upcoming album called Adultish coming out.
Yes,
Before
sir.
we talk about that, let's talk a little bit about your catalog. How you came up.
For sure.
I know, I believe your first 12-inch, which I have a copy of, Home Sweet Home.
Mm.
That wasn't the first song that I heard, but initially, not
Mm.
too long after that came out, is when I was able to pick up that copy.
All
Um,
right. Nice. So appreciate the love, man. Yeah, that's 20 plus years back.
yeah. uh, you know, Tell us, how the journey began.
Yeah, for sure. Without going all the way back, um, like particularly that all of that stuff went down through Hideout Productions, rest in
Hmm.
peace to Nujabes. My introduction to Nujabes was through a homie I went to college with, my man Tomo, who's professionally known as Sphere of Influence. He at the time was like an underground rapper, just like I was. Before later on, he ended up signing with a major in Japan. But we both ended up in the same college. We were going to school in Brooklyn, New York, and we'd kick it sometimes, hang out with our man DJ Biscuit and Pac and all of these different homies that would hang around the Brooklyn campus. And yeah, man, we had recorded some stuff together, like, and I was on a mixtape that one of our homies did. And when he went back to Japan for the summer, we had exchanged numbers. Like, you know how it is. Sometimes you see a person all the time, and you don't even have their math, but y'all kick it a lot, right?
Right, right.
And but he just happened to ask for my math right before he went back to Japan for the summer.
Hmm.
And during that same summer, he was working for Hideout Productions. Well, not Hideout Productions. I'm sorry. He was working for Guinness Records, which was Nujabes' record store. And so, yeah, long story short, Nugent Best asked him if he knew of any dope rappers in New York that he should check out. And it was crazy because I lived in New York, but I wasn't from New York. And he just happened to just point him in my direction. He was like, yo, check out my man Stan. Um, and yeah, bro, like that same summer, I just get this crazy call. Like, and his accent was so thick, I thought it was somebody playing around on my phone or something. But it was Nugent Best, and at that time, no one knew who he was. My man didn't even call me up to give me heads up to look out for the call.
Wow.
so, so I almost hung up on homie, you know. And but now I heard him out. He mentioned Tomo, and he had liked what he heard on the mixtape, and then he had asked if I had any additional stuff that he could check out. And so I literally put a cassette in the mail, you know what I mean, with a project that I was literally working on that summer to submit. I had submitted it to Def Jam as well because I had briefly spoke with an A&R over there. I think it was DJ Enough. And I missed my opportunity with Def Jam, but I had that project ready, so I just passed it to the next one.
There you
And
go.
yeah, and the rest is history, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Now, I'm not gonna talk too much about Jarvis, but
Mhm.
to have that phone call at that moment, and I know I've heard the story that you told that you a lot of your friends were pranksters, so
Yeah,
you didn't take it seriously.
right. Yeah, man. Yeah, you know, like bro, I've had like at the time where like a whole bunch of military stuff was on the news and they were talking about like reconsidering drafts and all this other stuff. I would have homies that call like leave wild messages on the phone like, "Yo, this is you know what I'm saying? This is corporal blah blah blah." I'm like, "What is like just clowns, bro. Just straight up clowns, man, joking always playing with something." So I just, you know, it's one of those, especially when people playing with stuff that you take real serious, you know. So
Yeah.
it's like you just like until you're absolutely sure that this isn't a game and these people are being real. And I
Mm-hmm.
think there was a lot of New York that was rubbing off on me too, like where people hustle. You know what I mean? Folks hustling. Sometimes, you know, selling you pipe dreams or whatever, take advantage and stuff. Not all New Yorkers, obviously, but you know, you run across folks like that. And so
Right.
so yeah, man, it was just taking it with a grain of salt. And but
Mm-hmm.
when he started dropping the homie's name, I was like, oh, okay, you
Okay,
know,
this is for real.
yeah, for sure.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. And you actually flew out to Japan and worked with him.
Yeah, that was the dope
That's the
thing about it.
experience.
'Cause yeah, man, no, it was crazy because you know, like when we were talking and I sent them the stuff, and then he offered me the deal. He had let me know that the plan. He had let me know in the first phone call that the plan was if he dug it, he would like to sign me, and then he would fly me to Japan.
Hmm.
And more so than anything, because I hadn't heard his stuff yet, but I already knew. I was like, all his stuff got to like all he got to do is be dope. If he's dope,
That's
I'm
it.
going to Japan. You know what I mean? And we'll figure everything out. You know, but I mean that was the biggest thing because you know it was something that like I had never traveled that far before in my life, so the potential of just doing that was enough to get me a little excited. And yeah, the closer we got, and then once I inked the contract, and then he put me on a plane to head out there, man. Like you know, it was surreal because at the time too, I was struggling, like you know, typical broke college kid, man. Like struggling real bad, like financially, bro. I showed up in Tokyo with $33.22 in my pocket, man. You
Wow.
know, and I was about to be out there for a month, but like I had just struggled so much prior to that that like you know you have faith that things gonna work out. You know what I mean? And I knew we had discussed like what the deal would look like, but I wasn't sure how soon I was going to get the advance. But I also wasn't trying to like press my man either. Be like, yo, so about the,
Right.
you know what I mean? And luckily, that same night, I got the envelope and I got the keys to an apartment that I stayed in for like a month because I was there a month working on that album. You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
So I remember you saying it was close to about 40 songs that you recorded together?
Yeah, so during that trip, we recorded about 25 tracks. And
Mm-hmm.
then when I went out the second time, I think we recorded somewhere between like close to eight, like maybe like 5 to 8 tracks, something like that. And then there was another trip years later when I was no longer with the label,
Mm-hmm.
where I was out there touring with my representation that I had. But him and I reconnected, and we recorded uh, uh, we recorded like 3 or 4 joints then, and there's uh, yeah, man. My bad. I don't know if the connection dropped, but yeah.
Yeah, I still hear you.
Okay, cool, cool. But yeah, man, yeah, we recorded a lot of music. It was close to 40 joints for sure, you know.
And to be on that debut, metaphorical music.
Yeah, yeah. That was like maybe how many years
That was like
after?
2002.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like maybe two years that came out after 2 years after I did my first joint, because he
Mm.
did the metaphorical music joint, and he had like the hideout compilation as well, you know. Yeah, man.
Wow. Mm. So with these talents that you have,
Mm.
which was the very first that you really pursued?
Yeah, definitely visual art. That kind of put me in the position to do a lot of the other stuff. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how it works in general. You know what I mean? Like whatever profession or skill set you develop over time. Like you might start in one place, but if you're pretty good at what you do, it like puts you in a position to meet other people and sometimes like learn other things, and you start to pick up stuff. So like I always loved hip hop, always loved rap music since I was really young. But before I wanted to rap, I was beatboxing. And then also before I wanted to rap, I was dancing. So in my mind, I was going to be a dancer or a football player or something art related. You know what I'm saying? Like, but the older you get, I think like closer I got to high school, dancing wasn't so as cool as it was, you know what I mean, amongst my peer group and stuff, you know. Like, you know how dudes are, man, like you can't do a thing, so you clown your boy for being good at it or something like that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Until they blow up and then you want to come to all the same parties and you know what I'm saying? And so yeah, so like I moved away from that, but my visual art is what got me into a performing arts school called it's called Suitland High School. That's where I graduated from, and I was in the visual performing arts program, and that like opened up a lot of opportunities for me. Before that, I had dabbled with writing raps, like when I was like maybe 10,
Yeah.
um, but it wasn't until I got to high school and got around those people and started being around ciphers or like lunchroom table, beating on the table, rapping other people's lyrics until we started writing our own. That was like the breeding ground for everything. And so it was in art school, art high school, that like, like I fell in love with rapping, you know what I mean?
Mm. It's amazing how things work out, right?
Yeah, bruh. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Still tight with a lot of those homies too. A lot of them still nasty with the pen and got bars for days. Keep me sharp. You know what I mean?
That's dope. The educator, substantial. How did that come?
Yeah, yeah. It's similar, man. Where like one path that you're on, like while you're on that path, you know, you see other things along the way, and so with the education part, like. even in high school, I used to like I was doing my volunteer hour with the program that I was in. And so what was happening was after school you could come and like volunteer to give tours and stuff at the art program and like all of that type of stuff. And so in those moments, a lot of times I was speaking to students younger than me and I was educating them on like why it was a good opportunity, what were some of the things they'd be doing. And so I didn't look at that back then as like me trying to get into education. It was just like, yo, I was trying to get my hours, right? But I liked it, and I guess they thought I was good at it. So then that turned into them literally sending me to middle schools to help recruit, right? So I would started speaking in front of kids younger than me about like why the program was something that was life changing for me, but would also potentially be good for them. So fast forward, I moved to Brooklyn for college, and while I was there, we started an organization called Origination, which was kind of like another like Black student union, I guess, right? And so we started doing volunteering like with local programs and stuff, doing like et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Deal, promoting, blah blah blah. With, they would be in the crowd with I becoming the student. Because I was like pop that maybe the students was accustomed to seeing. And I also had a deal. I was traveling. I was making moves, so they just thought it'd be cool for me to do. And I did it one time, and as quick as I finished, man, the principal was like, "Bruh, like, you ever looking for a job, man?" He was just like,
Oh
"Man,
yeah.
you good with these kids, bruh?" Like, he's like, "That's the most engaged I've seen our students in a long time." And he was like, "Man,
Mm.
you should really consider doing youth work and stuff." And so yeah, man, that led to other opportunities and me developing like hip hop curriculum and stuff for different programs in Brooklyn. That helped me get the job that with Covenant House, Washington, that allowed me to relocate back to the DMV.
Mm.
Um, yeah, man, and this, since then I've probably worked with like thousands of kids now, and I
That's
still
great.
do education. I just teach music business related courses now with two different programs, Words, Beats, and Life, and Omega School, Omega Studios out in Rockville, Maryland.
Mm.
Yeah,
Cool. Tell us a little bit more about that.
yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, I got with what was it? I got with Omega School, Omega Studios. I got with them in 2015. They there was a brother who worked still works there, um, who basically, he saw me being a youngish black man, younger than the staff they had there, right? And he was just like, man, you're from the same area a good amount of our students are from, and you work in the same genre that a lot of them want to work in. And so I think it'd be really beneficial to them if you consider teaching here. And I was like, well, what type of courses are y'all looking for people to teach? And he was like, I kind of want you to teach something based around what you do. And so I pitched promotion techniques for indie artists. Basically, I pitched that to them, like just how to navigate if you're going to go the independent route, right?
Wow.
And they accepted the curriculum, and so I started teaching that 2015 with them. And then they came to me again, was like, man, is there any other classes you'd like to teach? And so then I started teaching a distribution class, right? How to set up your own distribution, what to consider when you're looking for distribution, et cetera, et cetera. Then during the pandemic, they came to me and was like, yeah, we got some instructors leaving, and we want someone to teach a writing for the music business course, right? Like how to write press releases, how to write bios, how to write pitches. So then I started teaching that class, and then they were wanted to, because I run my own business, they had me teach an entrepreneurship class as well. So currently I teach 4 classes with Omega Studios out in Rockville. And then with Words Beats in Life, they had stepped to me during the pandemic as well to start teaching with them. Initially, they wanted me to teach an MCing class, which I've done in the past, but I just let them know. I was like, man, what I'm interested in teaching now is more around the business of it, because I can help a lot of young brothers and sisters be amazing writers, right? I can give them all these skills, but if I can't teach you, like, not just how to apply it in the creative process, but if I can't teach you how to potentially make a living doing this, right? Because a lot of people, they love it and they'd rather be doing that than working a job that they don't like if they're passionate about it. So so I just made the shift, man, because I would bump into so many of my former students, and I'd be happy for them regardless of what they chose. But when you see that pattern of like almost nobody, like almost none of them, like pursuing it, especially the ones who got it, right? So that's when I just shifted my focus. I was like, man, I'm gonna teach the business, because the music part of it is subjective, right? Like, it's important for us to acknowledge our biases, right? Like, if you grow up with a certain type of hip hop, then more than likely that's the main thing you want to hear. You want to hear
Gravity.
it.
Yep.
And if anyone's doing anything different, you don't like it, right? It's all relative. So so some of my students, they were making the type of hip hop that I didn't grow up with, so I didn't necessarily connect with it, but I could appreciate certain aspects of it artistically, right? And so I was just like, man, let me just get out of the way of their creative process and teach them how to maneuver this business, and how to think creative in that space, and
Very
how to
important.
like build, you know what I mean? So yeah, so I came back at them with the idea of teaching business classes for them, for the high school students, and they was with it. They were with it. So like, I've been working with them ever since. I think we started doing those classes 2021 with Words Beats in Life. So shout out to Mozzie and the rest of the crew. It's been real good, and that led to me doing cultural diplomacy with them. Went to Uganda with Mozzie back in December. Also doing cultural diplomacy with the State Department, the Department of State, and the Next Level organization as well. Like traveling abroad, teaching the business and the craft. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's amazing. This is great work. This is the type of
Thank
jewels
you, man.
that should be passed on to a lot of younger artists. And I give you major respect on what you're doing. Because who would have thought that you would have been doing this, right?
Right, right. Yeah, man. I wish could give go back in time and be like, man, bro, let me tell you what you're gonna be doing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. I don't want to jump around, but you brought up uh, this happening around 2000, 2021. And
Mm,
the anime, which I'm a big fan of, Cowboy Bebop, you played
yeah.
a very important role in real folk blues, and
Mm.
I definitely supported that Kickstarter.
We appreciate you for supporting the campaign, man. Yeah, that was shout out to my boy Mason Lieberman. He can't take credit, man. Like, it was his brilliant idea. Like, we were all locked down in our spaces. Hey, yeah, I just saw the vinyl. Nah, it's amazing. Yeah, I was looking away for a second and looked up and saw the vinyl. Hey, man, I just peeped your hoodie too, bro. Hey, thank you,
Yeah,
brother.
dirty sneakers.
Yeah, yeah, man. Thank you for the support, man. Um, but yeah, no, we my man Mason Lieberman came to me and a bunch of other artists. It was 40 plus artists that he invited to be a part of this. And it started out as just a fan tribute. Like, we were all fans of that particular anime.
Mm-hmm.
And the composer and the band, like, we were just fans of the music and the anime itself. And so when he stepped to us about being a part of it, for me, it was a no brainer. Then we started to talk about like what we would do with the song when it was done, and how we could use it to raise money, to help
Mm-hmm.
Doctors Without Borders, to raise money to fight COVID. This is like early, like I think this is like early 2020, right? Like springtime or something. And yeah, man, we just started brainstorming. The song came out amazing. So then when we had a rough draft, he stepped to Funimation and was like, "Hey, we did this thing. Could y'all check it out?" So they checked it out. Was like, "Oh my goodness, this is so good. Let us hit up Sunrise, the company that originally put it out." And
Yeah.
so they hit up Sunrise, and Sunrise was like, "Oh my God, this is so good. Let us go ahead and hit up the composer, right? Like who wrote the music." She hears it. She's like, "Oh my God, this is so good. Let me hit up the seatbelts, right? Who, so first we go from Yoko Kanno loving it, who wrote the music, to the band themselves, the seatbelts, hearing it, and then them loving it. And she was like, they love it so much, we want to get on the song with y'all."
Wow. That's amazing, man. What?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. And so, yeah, bro. So then they send back like their parts. And then my man was like, "Yo, we should try to make a video." And I'm like, "How is that gonna happen with 40 plus people?" But yo, we recorded our parts where we were. Somebody else came through and volunteered to edit it.
Hmm.
The seatbelts and Yoko Kanno sent parts to edit into there, so they were with us. And then Funimation and Sunrise, they all stamped it. Was like, "Yo, we're gonna put this out officially." Put it on it's now Crunchyroll, but like then it was the Funimation YouTube channel as an
Yeah.
official release. And that just was crazy, man. How it just started as like we're just a bunch of fans who had an idea to do a thing. And yeah, for them to love what we did so much to make it official, to give us the original art and be like, "Nah, y'all can use this for the color." Like, because we had like some tribute art that was made, and they were like, "Nah, you can use." They gave us the original art from the promo. It was like, "Nah, you can use any of these files." Like, what is happening right now? Like, yo, like we're officially with them. This ain't just on some like. This went from us being fans to like, "Nah, B, like y'all with us." And
Hmm.
yeah, it was crazy. And so the initial idea was just a digital release, and then because we were gonna use the money from streaming to donate. And then that's when I pitched the idea to him. I was like, "Well, we could do a vinyl. If we did vinyl." It was like, man, as a fan of the soundtrack, whenever this stuff becomes available, whenever Funimation would drop like new merch for it, it sell out in like a day. So I was
Yeah.
like, "Yo, if we doing this officially, ask them how they feel about putting out a vinyl joint, because bro, we can crowdfund the vinyl, and I think people would eat it up." And so we went from, if we had only put it out digitally, we would have raised about like $10,000 initially, but the vinyl ended up selling nearly 3,000 copies, and so we raised over 50 grand, you know what I mean, in like a month, So yeah, bro, like really, really proud moment, man, how that all came together. And again, I'd be pinching childhood, me like, "Wake up, son, wake up. I know you dreaming, but peep this reality, B. Look at what's happening,
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole week was crazy, bro. Like that. Now that I think about it, the week that song came out is the same week that I think the third video game song I had done dropped like the same day. They both
Oh,
went viral the same day.
wow.
And earlier that week, J Hope from BTS was put up a dance video, like him just kind of working out and dancing in the studio by himself. And he had happened to play some Nujabes stuff. And then I was watching the video as it was happening. And then, like, when I realized where he was listening to the album, I was like, "Oh man, he's listening to the album, not just the one song from the album."
Hmm.
And when I was watching it, I was like, "Yo, wait a minute, my song's next." And it kept going. And he kept he gets a little tired and he's chilling. I just posted about that today, like for Throwback Thursday. But yo, all of that happened in a week, fam. Like in that
Wow.
all same week, to have like the biggest group in the world, one of their members dancing to your song earlier in the week, and then two major songs that I was a part of. One of them ended up being number one. That same song you were asking about, number one in Japan on Amazon in rock, and then it also charted, I think, number six worldwide for digital sales according to Billboard. So yeah, bro, like hell of a week, hell
Yeah.
of a week, you know.
You know, there must be you're emanating some good energy
Mm,
for all these things to happen the way they do.
appreciate that, bro. Yeah, man. Just trying to, I guess, receiving what taking the blessings that you get, right? Like
Mhm.
receiving the energy that people give you, and then just try and push that back out so other people can get some of that too. You know what I
Right.
mean? Just trying
Yeah.
to reflect that light, basically. You know.
That's amazing. I want to give a quick shout out to some people tuning in the comments. We got Aunt Bell from ABMG Music Group
Mm,
saying when you were talking about how you were giving back and everything,
that's what's up.
blessing.
That's what's up. Appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in.
Also have Joshua McGee.
Hey, yeah, that's a long time supporter right there, man. That's like the captain of my YouTube supporters, man.
There you
Yeah, man.
go.
Shout out to Joshua.
Big shout out to them. Hmm. Now,
Word,
I
word.
mentioned Q and Five in the beginning.
Hmm.
So
My
I'm
brothers.
sure during your time when you're up in Brooklyn, that's when that whole melting pot of meeting with a lot of them started.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. It started with me and Pac FM first. The story of how me and Pac met is hilarious because my play sis, my homegirl that I've known since high school. Yeah, we're so close. We just lie and tell people we brother sister and stuff. You know what I mean? We practically brother sister at this point. Um, but yeah, she came up to visit me in college, and she would be real heavy in the duck down chat room. And this is during a time where the internet isn't what the internet is now, right? So it's still like this is like 98. And so when somebody back then would tell you, yo, they're about to go meet a person they met off the internet, everybody eyebrow would raise, like, what? You about to do what? And then she came up to visit me too. I was like, what you not about to do is go off and meet some dude you just met online while you
Right.
supposed to be staying with me. Something happened, B. Everybody gonna be looking at me like I'm crazy. So I told her, I was like, yeah, I'll roll with you. And the person she was linking up with was Pac FM. You know what I mean? And so never met before that moment. And so that was how we linked up. It was like summer of '98. And then we had connected again later, like maybe a couple months later. We saw each other at open mic. And we were both trying to get on the same open mic, right? Like we signed the list. And then he had the idea. Um, he was like, yo, if they call you up, bring me up just in case they don't get to my name. I'm like, all right, I got you. And he was like, yo, and I'll do the same. I'll do the same if they call me, call you. And that plan. Um, then he comes to me a couple minutes later. You asked the say Pakistan, right? Like Pakistan. You know what I mean? I was like, hey. So we laughed about that, and we just hit it off, right? And so a bit later, maybe about I don't know if this is maybe like about a year after we started really hanging, Pac had met Tone, and him and Tone had hit it off like they're best friends to this day. And so fast forward, Tone invites us to a session at his place. This is back when he was living in Long Island. So we make the trek, and he also invited another dope MC who was living in Connecticut at the time, and that was my man Session. And
Ah,
so yeah, man, and in that same session, no pun intended, but during that same session, we ended up recording the song "The Evil That Pens Do." Um, and then like me and Pac had re-recorded a joint that we did called Pakistan, right? But like when we would write Pakistan, we would just put Pac Pack and then the letter Y like it's and in Spanish, and then Stan. You know what I mean? So. But in that night, man, that recording that song, it went so well that we had decided to um after recording Evil That Pens Do, we had decided to kind of form a super group with me, Pac, Session, and Tone. And so we were joking around trying to figure out the name. I'm a comic book nerd, so I was like, man, like we're like extended family of each other, right? So like we could go by like extended fam or something like that. You know what I mean? And for short, like because I'm a comic book head, I was like, yeah, we could be X fam, right? And then somebody was like, nah, dog, E fam, E fam. And I was like, and then it was like, yeah, because of the whole internet thing, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I was like, okay, because we all connected via the internet as well. So, uh, that type we came from.
There you go. We
Yeah, man.
also have tuning in right now, Katie Fox.
Hey,
Can't
Pig,
wait for
going
that
on?
animal arithmetic to drop.
Yeah, animal arithmetic out. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. The comic, dog. She's working real hard to finish it up. Man, the manga is gonna be dope.
I helped back that, so I've been paying attention to the updates, and I give
Hey,
her so much credit because everything that's been going on, she's sticking with it. Much appreciation, Katie.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Dope. Salute.
Since she's on right now, tell us
Right.
how the two of you came to work on the project.
Yeah, for sure. She had reached out to me back. It might have been like 2014. 2014 into 2015 is when we first connected. She was familiar with my music. Sent me some samples of her artwork, which were like her work was amazing. And that was when she first started telling me about the idea for the project and how she wanted to work with me like on it at some point. And so yeah, so we had just hopped on a couple Skype calls back then, just really picking each other's brain and stuff, talking about how we could collaborate. And then years later, fast forward, we started having the conversation started back up because she was getting closer to being ready to do it. We started
Hmm.
talking about what a Kickstarter campaign would look like for it, and started planning for the future. In terms of what it could be. She was working real hard, obviously designing the characters and writing the story or developing the story, and then also starting to talk to animators and stuff. And then while we were working on the album for it, we started talking about the possibility of like voice actors and stuff potentially voicing the characters as interludes on the project because she was already like playing around with these ideas for animation, and we were just talking about how we could incorporate that into the project as well. And yeah, man, it's just been super dope. It's been super dope. She's an amazing visual artist. For
Absolutely.
those who haven't seen her stuff, definitely check her out. Um, you know, um, she's done a ton of work for other folks as well, and yeah, man, definitely one to keep watching. And if you're at these anime conventions or any of these conventions on the East Coast, definitely look out for her merch. Her merch game is crazy. One of my boys, sorry, one of my boys, his nickname for me is the Merch God. He calls me Merch God. And then I met Katie Fox, and I was like, I mean, merch guy maybe, but merch God. Yeah, her merch game is crazy. Like she's definitely killing it. So yeah, salute to Katie. You know.
Yeah. The last New York Comic Con, I didn't get a chance to go out. I was hoping to be there and see,
Hmm.
a booth and everything, but I didn't get the chance.
Yeah,
Definitely next time.
all good. I'm sure she'll be at another one.
Mhm. Mm. Speaking of, since we're talking about collaborations,
Hmm.
um, Bob Alloy with Marcus,
Yeah.
D, who is now in Japan,
Hmm. Yep.
doing quite well with his label too.
Yeah. Sorry, it was breaking up a little bit, so I missed part of
Oh,
it.
okay.
were saying. You said I think the
Oh,
last thing I caught was he's doing his label.
yeah. I know Retro D Part 3 just recently came out. Man, it looks like you break to me. Sorry about that. Looks like we're having some connection issues. Let me try something real quick.
Oh, sorry about that. You hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, apologies. Yeah, so I'm sorry I missed the last thing you were saying about Marcus D.
Oh, I was saying that being that we were talking about collaborations and you had
Hmm.
the Bop Alloy going on,
Hmm.
and I was also saying, he moved. He was originally from the U.S. I think it's Seattle,
Yep.
now in Japan, has a whole label and everything. And I was mentioning his latest project, Retro D Part 3, is out.
Yeah. Retro. Yeah. Yeah. No, Marcus is amazing, man. Just super talented, super productive. You know what I mean? Like just always always cooking, man. He sent me a new batch of beats and just like
Oh,
this dude, like yeah, his productivity is crazy, man, and just the quality too. You know what I mean? Like of what he makes. But yeah, nah, man, he's another one where like we connected many years ago, and he was hella young, yo, when he first reached out. He was like 16 years old when he first hit me up. You know what I
wow.
mean? Yeah, he was 16, and I'm 10 years older than him. So I think I was 20. I already turned 27 because my birthday's January, and he's in August. So I was 27. He was 16. But even then, bro, like when I first heard his stuff, I was like, yeah, this kid's got it. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
man.
doing great.
Excited to get back to work with him.
I know I'm not the only one that's looking forward to that.
Oh man, I get asked. I go live at least once a week, and every week someone asks, like, so that new Bob Alloy? I'm like, son, we got you, son. We got you, son. You know, yeah, I got like 20 beats from Marcus, and what was it? No, me say that right. I got more than 20 beats that he sent me, and from the pile, I mean, from that folder of stuff he sent me, I got it cut down to like almost 20. So it's like 18 or 17 beats in that folder that could potentially be for the album, um, for the next album and stuff. And so, yeah, bro, it's gonna be crazy, man. If all goes as planned, the hope is to get out to Japan because he's built the studio out there. So possibly go out there and work with him top to bottom to write and record it. You know what I mean? Which we've
Okay.
never done before. You know.
Also, everything's is always been like through exchange through like internet.
Yeah, we've only recorded in the studio together twice.
Wow.
Um, Once at the end of the first album, there's a bonus track called Commencement. That was the first time we ever recorded in the studio together, with him on the boards and me in the booth. The second time was for a bonus track that we did on our second album, which was like a freestyle that came out through djbooth.net. Um, and I think it's on our SoundCloud as well, possibly Bandcamp. But yeah, but that was only the second time we had ever recorded together. And we have not recorded in the same place since. Yeah. And so that
Mm.
was like 2014, 2015, 2014 maybe. Last time we recorded in the same place. So it's been 9 years, you know. But yeah, but we're always making music together, you know what I mean? Which is the crazy part. Like he's on my new solo record, playing on one of the tracks. The track that comes out tomorrow, Salt and Pepper, he's playing on that. And
Ah,
yeah, yeah. So looking forward to folks hearing that, you know what I mean? But yeah, always cooking, always building with him, man. Always figuring out the next thing we can work on.
Absolutely. With all of your projects, I don't have one distinct favorite because there's always
Mm-hmm.
something that gravitates me to certain ones. But
Mm.
between Sacrifice and the Garden, there was one that always stuck out, and that was Home is Where the Art Is.
Mm. That's what's up, man. That's what's up, man. Shout out to Mellow Music and Odyssey. Yeah, man. I was yeah, really proud of that record, man. Like it was that was when I worked with like I started working with Odyssey on that record before we decided to step to Mellow about putting it out.
Hmm.
Um I got a shout out No from the group Cunning Linguist because he's the one that kind of led me in the direction of even talking to Odyssey about executive producing it slash curating the album.
Hmm.
And what ended up happening was I was on tour with Cunning Linguist out in Europe. And I'm all like any artist, man. I'm always trying to figure out what the next thing is and how I want to grow my brand. Funny enough, at that time I was already halfway done, almost completely done writing the next Bob Alloy album. I had already recorded half of it, but I had to write the second half. And I lost my book of rhymes while I was on tour with them.
Oh,
Yeah, so I had to rewrite I had to rewrite half the album because I lost my rhyme book, and that's why like everything is in the cloud now. Back then, not so much. um, but anyway, while I was doing that, I actually asked No straight up. I was like, "Yo, with how well this second album has been received, and now I'm working on this collaboration with Marcus D. I got a good feeling about that too. I
hmm.
want to really start planning for my next solo, like in what I'm trying to figure out like what I should do when I'm recording it, right? Or
Right.
like what how I should go about like marketing it. And he was like, man, I think you should just get with one producer to do the record top to bottom. You know what I mean? Or at least kind of oversee like the production coming in. And first he was like, man, I'd be down to do it. He was like, or better yet, he's like, you seem to be really getting cool with your boy Odyssey and stuff, and I know you like his sounds really dope. So like, man, maybe you should talk to him. And so when I got back off tour, and I was living back in the area, and this is before Odyssey moved to New York. Um, so yeah, I just reached out to him, asked him what he thought, and he was with it. And yeah, man. So he curated. Like I already had some beats from certain people, like my man Algorithm, who now go by Almost, and then we had some beats from M Phases as well, who I only was familiar with because I heard him through discovered him through Odyssey, and yeah, and then I just started sending production that I was getting from certain people, and then he basically he started reaching out to different producers that he knew, and they were just sending him fire, man. And he was just like, yeah, I think he just basically started putting together the record before I had even wrote a bar, you know what I mean, in terms of what production we were going to use. And it was, I had never made an album that way. But when we finished that record, I was like, yeah, bro, this is, this is quality.
Hmm. Man, you just mentioned Algorithm.
Yeah, man, super talented, man.
Yeah, he
He's
did
an
that.
amazing visual artist too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. If y'all check him out on IG, Alan Cole, doing these little illustrations and stuff, man. That he's the one that designed the visual art for the tour that I'm about to do right next month. He did the tour flyer. Yeah, super
Okay.
talented, man, with the
Yeah.
beats and the art.
Yeah. I can't remember the exact project, but I know it was the duo. What's the other person that he worked with back then?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. His boy Darian. Yeah,
There
they
you
go
go.
by the Stuyvesants.
Sizes. Yep. I remember when they first came out, I was like, who are these guys? And from
Right.
there, just it was a
Yeah.
wrap after that.
The way everyone plays this lo-fi stuff, man, that's how I like. I would go to these events, mostly these educational events, and then like there'd be all this dead space, so like or dead air, and I would throw on their projects just as instrumental music in the background, bro. Like, and this is like before lo-fi like became what it was, because their sound is more like it's a bit more soulful,
Mm-hmm.
um, a bit more feel good and less like melancholy, right? Like, I mean, it kind of does all of that, but it's like it just I don't want to say kind of I feel bad saying it. No, I don't. It feels a little more alive, right? Like just like real life, where it's real life isn't just kind of in this one area and just living in that space forever and ever. It fluctuates, right? Like we're hype, we're down, right?
Yeah,
We're going out on the town. Now it's sexy time, right? We're going and like, and that's what their projects do, man. And yeah, man, really proud of like that brother and what he's managed to accomplish over the years, both in the art space and musically.
absolutely. Yeah, I definitely have to go check the visuals because I used to listen to all their production projects that they had out. But being that you
Hmm.
mentioned him, I got to give him a shout out. That B side, Cool Mornings.
Yeah, bruh. Hey, man. Shout out to you for having the collection out here, bruh. I appreciate it, man. That's love.
Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
man. Thank you. Yeah, he killed Cool Mornings. Yeah, I love that man. Yeah, when he was making beats for our collab EP, like some of them he had made for the EP, and then other joints I was able to pull from like some Stuyvesant's projects, and I was just like, bruh, this is like kid in the candy store, bro. Like it's so much fire. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Fun fact, man, like about The Past is Always Present in the Future, the album after Home is Where the Art Is. I had actually I stepped to Al about yeah. Yeah, man. I had stepped to
With the
Al
signature.
originally about yeah, bro. Yeah, man. I'm gonna switch off these AirPods real quick
Okay.
before they die. But hold on one second. Um yeah, got that. All right, check. You still hear me?
Yep, I hear you.
Yeah, man. Hold on one more thing just to make sure it's no echo. But yeah, so
You're muted. There you go.
yeah, check 1 2.
Yep.
Yeah, so initially when I was working on The Past is Always Present in the Future, I had stepped to algorithm about producing the whole thing, right? I was
Oh,
just like, bruh, yeah. I was like, hey, bruh, what's up with you doing this whole project? And he was like, ooh. That's a big commitment, And even though he's a dude that has a ridiculous amount of beats and stuff, music isn't his main like bread and butter. You know what I mean? Like because like he's killing it in the visual art space and the design space and stuff. And a lot of people don't realize like how significant some of the things he's done in that world is. So when he told me, he was like, "Yeah, I probably ain't gonna be able to do that." As disappointed as I was, I understood, but that's when I circled back to him when I decided after talking with Tone Deaf, he gave me the idea about doing it as EPs leading up to an album, and yeah, bro, like I was like, well, it's the best of both worlds, right? Like I
yeah.
get enough tracks from him to do an EP, and then pull certain tracks from that for the album, and yeah, man. No, he killed it. He killed it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We can go through. Yeah. entire catalog, but you would get, you know, I have time for all of that.
Right,
But
right, right. We'd
definitely,
be here until tomorrow, right?
yeah, I definitely respect what you spoke about, but we also got to talk about the upcoming album, Adultish.
Yes, yeah, yeah, for
Right,
sure,
right,
man.
right now, you got four singles out. One featuring Mega Ran.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no per diem 2.0. Yeah, man. Shout out to the homie Mega Ran. Yeah, man, that track was long. Like us doing collabs is long overdue. You know, somebody we toured together and gigged here and there and stuff, and got a lot of mutual respect for each other. So it was dope to uh, knock that joint out and then do the other track that he released, Morning Glory. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, yeah, man. But super excited for people to hear Adultish, man. It's officially done. Uh, So now it's like, you know, we're trying to get these pre-orders hopefully launched in about a week or so.
Hmm.
And I'm submitting all the assets to the vinyl company first thing in the morning. Like, submit that stuff to them. Go hang out with my oldest daughter since she got the day off from school. Kind of let go of the album for a little bit, and then
Hmm.
get back to updating folks via Kickstarter. You know, for everybody that supported. You know, but yeah, man, can't wait for people to hear it, bro.
I'm sorry I missed out on the Kickstarter, but you know, I reached out to you and you said that keep an eye out.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, look, you got the scoop tonight. You know what I mean? Next, all goes well because my goal is to get the pre-orders up before I go on tour. So
Mhm.
I go on tour in 2 weeks. So my goal is to get it up next week, right before I head out on tour. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, man.
So what's the story behind the title and the album overall?
Yeah, for sure. So adultish, the idea of adultish is this. I feel like, you know, with hip hop being 50, and you know, hip hop is one of those things that even though a lot of the pioneers and those who grew up in what we call or consider the golden era of hip hop, we're all people of a certain age, right? But hip hop, you know, as people who are hip hoppers, we got this energy about us where it's like, you know, it's kind of like that forever young shit, right? Where, and my bad, I ain't asked you if I could curse. I'm sorry.
That's all
Um,
right.
but we kind of got that forever young thing happening where we're in a weird place where, like, as a hip hop dude, I walk into certain spaces, and even though I'm amongst people who are all in the same age group I'm in, with the exception of this salt and pepper, everything else I'm wearing, how I sometimes interact with them feels a bit younger than I am. And it's not so much immaturity, it's just more like when you exist in hip hop spaces mostly, you know what I mean? Like I feel like a lot of us still kind of have some youthfulness to us, right? Like a little competitive edge, all of these different things that makes hip hop. So that's like one part of what adultish is, right? Like grappling with that. The other part of it too is kind of like almost like, not, I don't know if it's survivor's guilt, but like when you grow up in certain environments and grow up around certain situations, um, you know, it's real easy when you sometimes feel like, yo, I'm probably not going to be an old man. I'm probably going to live to be like see gray hair, or you know what I mean? Like you know, when you got homies that's dying, like when y'all like middle school and high school age, or you seeing people shot or got people pulling guns on you or having certain situations, you know, you start to buy into the whole like, yo, make it to 21. Um, I remember being in Brooklyn when I turned 20 and walking home off the late night, like cutting through like Bushwick and Bedford Stuyvesant, and it's like super late, fresh off work. And yo, and in my mind, because it's my birthday, I'm like, bro, I'm a year away from 21. Like, is this the year? Like, you know what I mean? Like having real feelings like that. And so then what happens, I think, over time is you start to get into this space where like you start to grow older. Those gray hairs start to kick in. And then you realize you kind of pass that threshold of like, okay, maybe I am going to make it. So now what am I going to do? So what am
Right.
I going to do with this time I got that I didn't think I was going to have, right? And and so you realize you're a grown up that got more growing to do, and so like you just I'm like fully embracing this space that I'm in now. This like not letting go of that youthful energy, but at the same time loving the fact that like rocking my grays proudly because like bro, I didn't think I was gonna live to see any of this. So
Hmm. Yeah, you
you
can't
know,
see mine from up here, but I
uh,
got them too.
you know I recognize the stubble. You know what I'm saying? I know what club you a part of, brother. You know what I mean? But yeah, bro, and that's really what the album is, man. And adultish is like, the play on words, like adultish as in adultish can mean that like this is for adults, but then it can also mean this is kind of for adults, right? Like, kind of for adults. And then it also was just like, it breaks down, it can break down into adult shit. Like, nah, this is like some grown folk shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So every part of the album, like, however you want to use adultish. Like there's a record or there's a song, there's an interlude that really kind of ties into all of those different moments, right? Like, you know, No Per Diem, the song with Mega Ran, like the whole realizing your dreams. And even as you achieve certain things, like flashing back to those moments where it's like per diem, like, what do you mean? Like, I ain't getting per diem? You know what I'm saying? Wait a minute, what is per diem, right? Like, like the whole learning curve of being a professional in this. And then songs like Reed Richards, which is like, it feels fun, upbeat, and like this little shit talk in it, but it's still like there's wisdom in it. You know what I mean? So it's like the difference between young me that just was like, yo, I'm just here to just whip ass verbally, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus now I'm whipping ass verbally, but I'm saying something that got a bit more substance than younger me would have said. So yeah, man, it's and then tomorrow's song is Salt and Pepper and stuff, which obviously celebrates all of this. And so yeah, bro, it's been a fun record to make. All of the homies, people I really respect, both as people and as musicians, um, are calling it my best work yet, which is kind of hard to hear. Because kind of like, oh man, nah, chill, man, boo, boo, boo. But I feel it like as I was making it, I felt like, this may be one of my more definitive works, but just keeping myself humble enough to let whatever happens, right? Like the people, I don't get to decide that. I just make the art, and then when it comes out, people decide if that's what it is. Because if you had told me when I did Blessing it was going to be one of my biggest songs,
Hmm.
I'd be like, man, really? You know, but I was like, I didn't see it, but that's what ended up happening. So I've learned to just like, yo, just flow with it, and whatever the universe got for me, you know what I mean? I'm ready to receive it. So, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. For a person like me that hasn't listened to 1580, tell us
Mhm.
about that track with DJ RBI and T Lucas.
Yeah, man. Shout out to both of those brothers, man. So yeah, so 1580 is it's a tribute slash love letter to growing up here in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, Northern Virginia area. And it celebrates like the time, like, again, that youth, our youth here in this region, growing up, what we were seeing, both like the good and the bad, you know what I mean, that made us who we are. And the reason why it's called 1580 is because at that time, a lot of the super hip hop heads and people who love go-go music, which is the indigenous music of this area, DC specifically, we had this station on the AM dial called 1580, and that station only existed for a year, which is the crazy part. Like, but bro, they were playing all the, they were playing some of the bigger hip hop joints, but they were mostly playing those songs like from Farside's first album that maybe wasn't getting as much run as you thought it should have been getting, right? on the major stations, but you could turn on 1580 and they playing the hell out of it. But
Hmm.
then they were playing other stuff. They were playing the Boogie Monsters, right? Like,
Wow.
recognize thresholds and negative stress. Like they were playing like just raw shit, fam, that you might catch that video once, right? Like, but these major networks weren't running those type of tracks back all the time. So we could tune in and 24 hours a day they were playing either hip hop or they were playing go-go. And for like people like me who had just started rhyming a few years prior or rhyming seriously a few years prior, like the dream was like, bro, like I know I've made it if I'm getting played on this station. Like not necessarily celebrity, but like I know I'm nice. Like if I'm getting played amongst this stuff, because this is all they play, fam. So for me to get played here, like these folks know quality hip hop when they hear it. And so that
Definitely.
was the dream, bro. And like we were just writing, and like with part of that is the goal, right? Like, but the way they supported the local music too, I think that's part of the reason why like there's a certain pride that a lot of artists from this area have. Because it's always been like DC in particular has always been a music town, man. And or city. And yeah, man, like, I feel like some of the artists from where we're from are some of the greatest in the world, man. Um, and like, I just wanted to do something that really, really celebrated a part of our history, a very small part of our history, man. Because that station, like I said, it was only a year.
Mhm.
Then they turned it into a gospel station, and but yeah, bro, like anybody who existed during that time who heard that station, like it's a big deal to us. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's a great story. And going with the album, the energy and the maturity, um, I would say at this point in your career,
Mm-hmm.
your name stands out a lot more.
Mm.
Tell us, what was the purpose of being called substantial?
Hmm. Yeah, man, that's another thing I can't take credit for, bro. Like, shout out to my man Beef, in Brooklyn. You got certain people you meet where they're like quintessential. Like when you think of a city, like like that dude, like he's like the quintessential like Brooklyn dude. You know what I'm saying? And we would hang in the cafeteria, man, and he was a dude that I didn't even realize like until I had kicked it with him for like maybe a couple months that he didn't even go to our school. It was crazy, but he lived across the street from the school, and so we'd always see him, man, and everybody knew him as Beef, which was short for Be Efficient, and he rhymed and like was super hip hop head and knew a whole lot of people. So anyway, I had a different rap name when I met him, and he went to book me for an event, and he put my name on the flyer and stuff. But then I was rushing to see him because I had double booked. I had an event with him, but like I had also got booked for an event back in Virginia. So I had
Mhm.
to leave school to head to VA to go do this show. And so I went and apologized to him. Was like, yo, I can't even do it. He's like, damn, bro, I just had the flyers made, blah, blah, blah. So then he shows me the flyer. And I was like, bro, you ain't even put my name on the flyer, right? Because at this point I wasn't going by substantial. And he just points at the flyer. He's like, "Oh no, you're on it. That's you right there." And he points to substantial. And I was like, "Bro, what do you mean?" He's like, "Nah, bro." He's like, "Yo, your rap name's corny, son. You gotta lose that rap name, bro." He was like, "Substantial though." He's like, "Bro, like when you think of what the word substantial means, right, and how we use the word substantial, he's like, when I think of that word, I think of the music you make, like the type of artist you already are. So and he was like, the best part is got your name in the middle, yo, stand right in the middle. I was like, damn, that's fire. I'm
Yep.
just like off the shit, just shaking my head like, oh, that's kind of tough. That's kind of tough. And so initially I just took it on as an AKA, right? So I would do shows or open mics and I put the full thing, like, blah, 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 AKA substantial.
And I did that for like a couple months, and what I noticed is nobody ever said the full thing. They'd always just skip the substantial. I was just like, duly noted, right? Like it was like, okay, I can take a hint. And so, and it's funny, man. Like besides giving me that name, and then really growing into that musically, the big lesson that I learned from that was like the importance of a quality name, right? And sometimes how that name can get you further. Like because like when people hear it, when they see it, there's a certain coolness, or sometimes like brand wise, like it represents and stuff, a certain thing. And so yeah, man, I've tried to like I've named a lot of different artists over the years, like giving them names or challenged them on what their names were, right?
Mm.
Um, for that very reason, because I saw what happened in my career when the homie blessed me. So I try to be that for other people. You know what I mean? Like just being their ear, like, yeah, that might not be it, son. That might not. If you've been feeling like it's been a challenge to get off the ground, it's like that name might be part of the hurdle you're dealing with. You know what I mean? So
Right, right. Yep.
yeah. But shout out to my man Beef. You know.
Absolutely. Track 11, In My Daughter's Eyes.
Mm,
You created a book
yeah.
inspired by that track.
Yes. Yeah.
She Sees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell us the spark that made that book. Was it a moment that you, after this track was made, that you decided I'm gonna write a book?
Man, it's like a lot of things in my life, man. I think the theme of the night is keep dope people around you, right? It's like, and yeah, bro, that's my wife, man. My wife, we were listening to the song, we were listening to part two of the song because the original version was on The Past is Always Present in the Future. Shout out to John Lane who produced that. But then I did a sequel to that, and look, and that can't take credit for that. I did either. That was a fan. A fan was in one of the live chats and was just like, "Oh man, congratulations, you having a second daughter. Yo, you should do In My Daughter's Eyes Part 2, but just move the apostrophe." And I was like, "Hey, that's fire." And so I did exactly that. And then my wife and I were listening to like a rough mix of it in the car on my way to pick up my oldest daughter. And that's when she hit me with the idea. She was like, saying, you can make this into a children's book, right? And then she started talking about the Marley family and how they do the exact, one of his daughters does that with his songs.
Mm.
And I was like, yo, it's not a bad idea. So we start brainstorming. At the time, I was, besides talking to Katie Fox, I was also working with, another sister who goes by Luna Bunny, who's an amazing illustrator who I just happened to meet in Detroit when I was out there performing at a convention. And she had been doing like so much like fan art stuff for me, like from the time I met her. Like she was just gifting me art, gifted some cool art for like my oldest daughter and stuff. So she already had experience drawing me and drawing my oldest child. So it just kind of made sense. I stepped to my wife, was like, yo, I think I got a person who could illustrate it. And then we just started reworking the lyrics and stuff. And just made it happen. We pitched it to like I think a company or two. Never heard anything back. And the beautiful part about that as an indie artist is like, occasionally I reach out and try to collaborate with bigger companies to give stuff a bigger reach. But I've built an audience over the years where it's like I might not sell millions of copies, right, or hundreds of thousands of copies, but I can move low hundred. I move a couple hundred, maybe move a couple thousand of a thing every now and then, right? Like, so we weren't too worried. We were like, man, we'll make the initial investment and then see if people are interested in it. And then the last idea with that was because people know me for music for first and foremost, it was like, man, maybe make a compilation album of all of my songs about fatherhood
Mm.
um
That's a
to
good
go
idea.
with it. You know what I mean? And so that's how we came up with what was it? It's called a soundtrack for fatherhood, inspired by She Sees. And so yeah, so we put that out um at the same around the same time that the book dropped. And so they kind of worked in promoting each other, you know. And yeah, bro, the rest is history. It's been really dope to see how supportive people have been of the book. And shout out to a local smoothie shop that happens to have like a small library where they sell books and stuff. Um, the homie, my man Vic, they've been real supportive, man, ordering copies, like and reordering copies over and over again because people love the book. And it's just been dope, man. It's been really dope.
And let's segue to sticking with the illustration part, but with the album Adultish, the artwork.
Yeah.
Said some of the artwork was by Naturel. Am I
Yeah,
pronouncing that?
yeah. Yeah, so when the album drops, the vinyl has it has like a variant of the cover, like that Naturel illustrated. And I was telling the story earlier on the show of like the $33.22 that I showed up in Japan with. And so yeah, man, Naturel, like I told him that story while we were talking about the album and the direction of it and blah blah blah. And when I told him that story, it's wild because this dude has known me since he was 10 years old, and I'm like 4 years older than him, right? So he's known me a very long time, fam. And when he heard that story, he was like, "Bro, as long as I've known you, I've never heard this story before." And then he was just like, "Bro, that," he's like, "You are insane, son." Like, you know what I mean? But like in a good way. But he was just like, "Bro, like." It really, really got him thinking about like, you know, in terms of the type of commitment I had to like to being an artist and my journey as an artist and all of these different things, like the risk I was willing to take at that point in time in my career to get to another point, you know what I mean? And become a professional. And so yeah, so that's what inspired him. That story inspired him to create this artwork, um, this variant art that we're using for the vinyl that will also be in the CD. But I'm probably, when I drop the instrumental version of it digitally, I'm probably going to use that cover for that too.
Okay.
But he killed it, man, and it's basically it's an illustration of the exact amount of money, but then the money is like the different colors that I used for the original cover of the album. So when you
Oh,
see
okay.
it, so when you see the money, instead of it all being greenbacks, right? Like it's all these different colors. And it's dope because like the moment I showed it to my wife, she was like, "Yo, it looks like play money." Or like she said that, and then I think his wife said that, made the same observation. They was like, "Yo, it looks like play money." And I told him, and I was like, "Bro," and that's exactly what it felt like when I went to Japan. It was like showing up and I go on my wallet and I got Monopoly money in there. Cause dog, what is $33.22 going to get me in a month? Like in a month, bro, that's one meal. You know what I'm saying? And that's not even like you know, if I go to a nice joint, that might be part of the meal money. You know what I mean? So I mean, hell, some nights that's a tip. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, the significance of that art. And you know, like we decided the record was almost done, but then I decided to record myself telling the story, or at least like kind of giving some background on that on the record. So there's an interlude on the record called Play Money that ties into the art, so people know what it represents when they see it. But there's still other Easter eggs in the art. Like I'm gonna probably save those stories for another day. But like when it drops and people get to really look at it, I'm gonna do a deep dive breaking it down, like a video with Naturel. Uh, yeah, because he was just dropping gems when he told me everything in it, and I'm like, "Yo, this look like it looks so straightforward, but it's like it's so layered, bro." He
See,
killed.
this is one of the beauties of owning physical copies. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, nah, for real, super facts.
Mm. Now you know what? Is Natural the same from Soul Diamond?
A Soul Department. Yeah, so Natural's a part of a group back in the day called Soul Department, where it was
Okay.
him and Definition.
I thought.
Definition is the brother that did the beat for My Favorite Things.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and so they used to be a group, and then later on, the homie R&B, my man Reginald Williams, who he sings on the last song on Sacrifice, the song Hood Hope. So yeah, so he later joined Soul Department along with Algorithm, almost. So they used to have a group together called Soul Department. And
Okay.
yeah, so Natural, man, he's an amazing visual artist, and also he used to rhyme as well. So he was he's done joints with the Stuyvesants and stuff. Like occasionally you'll hear a rapper on their page, like when you go to listen to their music on streaming services,
Hmm.
and usually him. But and he also appears on my mixtape. What's the joint? He was on Substantial Evidence. There's a joint called Naturally Speaking. That's Natural rapping back in the day. And then he's on an interlude, I think, on Sacrificial Lamb. So we've been running, man, like, bro, like, yeah, like, first time I talked to that man, he was in elementary school, bro. Like, now he out here with us with the salt and pepper in his bed.
Okay. Yeah, because when I saw the name on the Kickstarter page, I was like, this name looks familiar.
Mm-hmm.
So there it is.
Yeah, no, bro, he's been out here, man. And outside of the stuff he's done with me, I mean, bro, like the stuff he's done with me is minuscule in the grand scheme of things, right? Like, he had a line of clothing that he did with Sesame Street and Champion that was in Foot Locker. He had his own line of Pumas, that like when he was working with Puma brand.
Wow.
This is at the same time Fendi had their own line of Pumas, like where Rihanna had her line of Pumas, same time he had his. And so, like stuff that he's done for like LeBron and Nike, stuff for Mountain Dew and stuff, collaborations with Russell Westbrook. Like this, bro, he's been out here, bro, like really, really killing it, man. And it's been real dope. Just all of these homies of mine that I've known for years, man. Everybody just killing it in different spaces and still being able to come together to collab.
Absolutely. I only have two more questions.
Yep.
One's related to the upcoming album, but before we ask that question,
Mm-hmm.
when are we going to get you and the other guys back in the lab?
Man, you know what's funny? Me and Joe from the other guys was just having a conversation about this like a couple weeks ago. And he was like, man, and I said to him, I was like, bro, like it's funny. I think before I finished the new album, I put the bug in his ear because I was prepping, like trying to map out my next year or two in terms of what I wanted to do. And so they were one of the first calls I made was like, bro, we got to do another one. And so yeah, they're open to it. I'm definitely open to it. So yeah, man, that's gonna happen again at some point.
That's
Maybe a full length joint instead of an EP. But salute to them dudes, man. That project with Sky Zoo is crazy. They are killing it. I love the concept behind that joint. Watch the season finale of Snowfall.
My vinyl just came in for that.
Bro, yeah, I gotta cop the vinyl. I ain't copped it yet. Yeah, man. Nah, it's a super dope record, But yeah, shout out to my brothers.
Yeah, man. Always doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Had the opportunity to interview the two of them as well, so I definitely appreciate that.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, great dudes. Got a lot of history with them too, man. Yeah, like Isaiah from the other guys was best man at my wedding, and Joe is his cousin, and like he brought him around when he was bringing Joe around when he was like a lot younger, like early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I was just always asking questions, always trying to improve his craft and grow as a producer and all of that. And and then when they started releasing stuff, would come through the studio. I consult them, try to get them gems and stuff. And Joe has hired my company occasionally or whatever to consult and take a look at what they were doing and try to help them keep growing. Like Joe, like man, it's dope what they've done and how like you know, like the brother Joe in particular, man, like in terms of our conversations, Isaiah as well, but me and Joe talk more these days.
Mhm.
But like, students, man, you know what I mean? Like it's important to be a student of the craft, but also the business. And the entire time I've known them, like always trying to figure out how to grow, you know? Yeah, so salute.
Yeah, definitely salute to them. Salute Hip Not Records as well.
Yeah, for sure.
They definitely, they took that mantle and kept going with it. So salute
No
to
doubt.
them.
No doubt, man.
Yeah, yeah. Now, my last question for tonight is: when Adultish comes out
Hmm.
and us listeners get to hear it, what do you want us to take from it?
Yeah, I think just, I hope that, and I know it's gonna be challenging for some because I am releasing it song by song. So I know sometimes that affects the listening experience. But I think even if you've heard it piece by piece, I think when you hear it all together and how it works and the themes and what it's like how it
Mhm.
all culminates. I just, my biggest hope is for people who I want them to be able to appreciate the artistry, like the nuances, all the details in it, while also being able to just enjoy it. Like I love the idea that someone can kind of have something on in the background and just have it like just like vibing to it, but not fully engaged. But
Mhm.
at the same time, when they have that time to fully engage, they can listen and be like, yo, like, oh my God, like I didn't even, bro, that's like so much went into that, right? And then like I love the idea that there's reflective music on it, right? Like in stuff that have you contemplating like really serious things. But then there's celebratory stuff that feels breezy, right? And feels like just makes you want to dance, you know what I mean? Without sacrificing lyrics, without sacrificing concept or you know what I mean? Like it's not just I don't judge anybody for making music like that. Like if that's what you do, that's what you do. But it's not what I do, right?
Mhm.
So I like the idea of me being able to be my authentic self and really push the bars where I know they can go, but also still like give you that substance, but also make it something that it's palatable amongst the casuals, right? The people who aren't the super hip hop head, like they can still hear this record and enjoy it. But a
Yeah,
person who knows, like who knows real hip hop, who knows like real lyrics and stuff, and um like they can listen to this and not feel like I'm sacrificing anything, right? Like I feel like these things are mutually exclusive. Like you don't have to give up. You don't have to sacrifice this over here in order to do this great. You can do both,
mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and the last part is like I produced the whole record myself, and so that's in terms of me rapping from the beginning to end on an album and actually doing all the production. That's new. Like this will be the first time people really hear my production with me rapping over it top to bottom. So I think I'm really, really proud, and people who I know who are super picky and don't like a whole lot have heard this record and be like, bruh. And I'm like, okay, okay, I'm on to something. Okay, good, good.
you go. Yeah,
Yeah, feels good, man.
that's great, man. Substantial Adultish album coming very soon. Um, I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. I learned a lot tonight, and
Thanks for having me, man.
one thing I'm going to continue to say, and it stands out, that energy, that positive energy. I definitely appreciate that, and you didn't just spread it out and influence to a younger audience that's trying to get their way, but also to people like myself, our age.
Mm-hmm.
Much respect on that.
Appreciate it, bro. Thanks for having me, man. And thanks for the folks who tuned in. And y'all, hope to catch y'all on tour, man. Coming to a city near you, in May. Definitely look out for the tour.
Definitely. You can give your shout outs and let everyone know where they can support your music.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. You can check me out, iamsubstantial.com, on social media. On most of the social media, it's just at Substantial Music, and on a couple of them, it's at I Am Substantial. But yeah, look me up on social media. Definitely look out for the tour. We're starting in the Midwest, then we're going out to the West Coast, and then we'll be on the East Coast as well. Tour starts May 4th in Kansas City, Missouri, and then ends on May 29th in Winter Park, Florida. So definitely look out for that, man. We're adding maybe 1 or 2 last minute dates and stuff. So if your city ain't on the list right now, it might end up being. So just keep a lookout. But thanks again for having me, good brother. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. And I put up the link for everyone to go check that out.
My man.
Once again, appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thanks again.
Absolutely. On behalf of HHDG Media, we're going to say peace.
Peace, family.